In this painting, I am starting off as I always do, with no idea where anything's going to go or what I'm going to do. I'm just starting off with some colours that I like. But what I eventually do in this painting is tell a little bit of a story, or take you to a place. Um, it will eventually have some sort of evocative story to tell, or something that you'll recognise. So see if you can see some things that appear that you recognise. So still just putting on colours, and I'm using these stencils, and the reason I like to use these is because these give me some nice edges which can be the beginnings of shapes. And so I just use them with paint and just get the edges and see where we go. And the colours that I'm choosing are, this is all fairly dark, so I'm keeping with sort of dark colours, making a sort of dark background that's made up of a variety of colours that are made by mixing the same colours together but in differing sort of proportions, I guess. So we've got warm and cool, but they're predominantly quite dark, and I'm just using these stencils to get the edges and seeing what we come up with. And there's a bit of quite intense bright turquoise. Now I'm bringing in a bit of line. I'm doing this with a red pencil, Lumicolor permanent pencil, and my lines are sort of tracking through the lovely browny sort of colours there that I quite like, and they sort of sit in amongst the colours that I'm using. Here I'm writing some words. Now I can't quite remember what this word was. It was probably a lyric, something that it came from the music that I was listening to while I paint. But I'm just doodling around and just playing with shapes and lines. Now I'm using straightish kind of lines. This is a little bit more intentional, and I'm making kind of animal shapes. I have a couple of goats in a paddock next door to where I live, and they often find their way into my paintings. These are funny looking goats, but they are goats all the same. Anyway, now I'm coming in with a lighter colour, still keeping to sort of a purpley sort of colour to go with what I've got, but it's much lighter. And in that way I'm starting to think about design. So I've created a page with lots of lovely surface effects and colours and lines and things, and now I'm thinking about a design and drawing on top of the light areas as well. So I want to integrate the light into the painting. I want it to be part of the layering, not sit on top, so there has to be things that go on top of it as well, and that's where those drawings come from, and then bringing in some colours that maybe come from behind and then can sit on top of the lighter colour. Now if I was to take a photo of this in black and white, you would find that it's fairly mid-value. It probably needs some lighter values, but at this stage I'm just continuing to draw, and I'm starting to think about my story. You can see it, an animal has appeared with some burden on its back at the bottom of the painting, and I'm feeling like this has got a sort of Middle Eastern desert, Kasbah, Moroccan, Arabian Nights type feel. I don't know if that is what it feels like for you, but that's how it's feeling for me. So I'm coming in and I'm lightening up some of the light areas. It needs to be lighter so I get a much better design. And so I'm spreading that transparent sort of light over the top of the blue, and now I'm coming in with really dark, this is a really dark blue, black sort of colour, and that's going to deepen up the darks. So I've put in really lights and really darks. I'm sort of setting my parameters in terms of value differences here. Really light and really dark, and then now I'm just sort of playing around with shapes, seeing what works, what I like, how much of anything I'm going to have, whether I need more of something, maybe a little bit more intense colour, spreading that around and so that it sort of helps the eye move through the composition. And I'm quite liking this colour palette at the moment, so I'm sticking with it, using the colours I've got and just adding little details and sort of defining some shapes. Lots of sort of subtle changes going on, trying to define and feel my way through this painting. What is this thing on the right hand side trying to be? What am I going to make it into? So I'm lightening up that lower part and then drawing details into it, creating a dark area at the top, more of the intense orange that looks so good with that sort of purpley light colour. So what I sort of discover that I like is I like that central part of the painting where I've got lots of sort of, there's a bit of complexity there in terms of colours and transparency and layering, and I want to create this sort of blue area on the right that has something there. So I'm just finding my way and exploring and seeing what comes about, getting a bit more definition and clarity in some of the details there. And repeating some of the sort of shapes and iconography from one side to the other. I quite like those sort of towers that are sort of leaning up on the left there. So I'm going to create more of them and that sort of echo those shapes in the drawing underneath. So that area of complexity that I liked in the middle, I'm trying to sort of carry that over into a larger area on the right. So it takes a bit of fiddling. And here I'm just sort of defining edges, making the edges clearer and stronger. These are little details. And there we are, the Arabian Nights in the desert with a camel.